Welcome and thanks for joining us. My guests today are Katie Knight, the Community Engagement Officer at Apple FCU, and Emily Odom, Assistant Special Agent in charge of the Cyber Division for the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Thank you both for joining us. Emily, I want to start with you. Give us the big overview to start off with. Just how bad are financial crimes and scams in general right now?
Probably the biggest threat to your family's finances is going to be a scammer sitting behind a computer. Someone that's using AI-generated photographs or videos or even voice to target people in a specific way that makes them more likely to respond to it. I think one of the interesting things is that according to the FBI, the average age for a cyber criminal arrested in the U.S. is 19.
Wow.
So who better to target our teens than one of their peers, right? It makes them a lot more susceptible to responding to those things.
How much has that shifted in recent years, what you're seeing now?
In my experience, Gen Z is way more interested in being financially secure, financially independent than probably I was at my age. And so I think cyber criminals have recognized that as something to target because of that vulnerability. And I think it's increasing. I think we'll see a lot more of it over the next few years for sure.
Katie, what are you seeing from your angle?
It's interesting that Emily was saying that because I think that there's a common misconception that when we're talking about fraud, really only elders are being targeted. And at least at Apple, that's not the whole story. About a quarter of the fraudulent transactions that we're seeing on our end are happening to Gen Z, and it directly corresponds to what Emily's saying.
All right, so what are red flags we need to look for, Emily?
Again, a great question. I think the red flags probably haven't changed significantly over the years. You know, Katie mentioned like previously targeting elders and now targeting teens, but it's the same red flags, right? It's asking you to respond really quickly, a sense of urgency. Hey, you need to do this like right away. Huge red flag. Asking you to click on links from someone you typically wouldn't get a communication from is a huge red flag. Some of the other things we're seeing is asking you to turn on your camera. Is there a legitimate reason for you to turn on your camera? Probably not. So,
like within an app or within an online game or something
yeah,
like that?
absolutely. Huge red flag. So I think it's the things we're used to, but now it's just targeting a more vulnerable population.
And what are the contexts this is happening in? As Katie said, is it gaming? Is it social media? Is it something else? What's the platform that these things are going on in?
It's any platform that teens are on.
Okay.
So
Yes.
you got to think that social media is difficult, right? It's very widespread. Cyber criminals have the opportunity to reach an audience that they didn't previously have the opportunity to reach. I think again shows the difference in elder fraud and what we're facing now because young teens are all over social media. So social media is a big issue where there's just a lot of people on social media. I would say also online gaming is a big thing. You have a lot of folks on online gaming and they're being asked to purchase something in the game that they think is going to advance them in the game. And you know, being a kid, you want to take advantage of that opportunity, and it opens up a huge avenue for fraud.
Katie, any red flags you wanted to add to mention?
Well, I would say certainly those are the places where the scamming is starting and the relationships are being built by the bad actors. On the flip side, when it comes to monitoring, it's going to be best to be looking at your account daily because these transactions are going to show up and they might actually be tiny. They might be small reoccurring transactions for something. I've got a 9-year-old, right? He's playing Roblox, he's playing other online games where he can be chatting with his friends. And there's the possibility that somebody that he doesn't know is in there. That game's tied to my credit card because there's a subscription. And if I'm not checking my account daily or setting alerts through my mobile app on Apple's app, you know, I could be missing where this is occurring.
So monitor things daily, watch for red flags. Any other prevention tips?
Talk to your kids, right? I think communication's a big piece of this, just having those daily conversations with your kids about what they're seeing online, what that looks like, even sharing with them things you're getting as an adult. Say, hey, look, I got this email. I know this is fraud. Like if you see something like this, like don't fall for it, don't click, don't engage.
How do you talk about it with kids? You know, does it just come out of the blue? You just have to blurt it out at some point?
That's a great question. We were talking earlier, I think we both have kids, and it's something that I think a lot personally about because, you know, I have a very young kid, and I think it's just ensuring the conversation is part of your normal day-to-day life, and it's not something you're throwing at them when they're least expect it. You just say, hey, I had this email today, or here's what happened, or just engaging in it as part of normal conversation, I think is the best way to get across to them the importance.
Yeah, I think meeting them where they're at is also really key. So I mentioned my son's into online gaming, and we talk within that context. We also pay allowance into his Apple account, and he wants to check on that regularly. So we look at the transactions together and remember what purchases he's made versus what purchases he would like to make. And I think just increasing that skill set and that familiarity is really very important.
How young is too young to talk to kids about this? Obviously, you want to get them
utero.
started early. That's pretty early. When do you think that kids have enough of a grasp of these things to start talking to them about it?
There is no too young. I think the moment they start comprehending the concept of numbers in the terms of finances is a good age to start, which, you know, it's different for every kid, but, you know, 4 to 5, they're starting to understand how to add, subtract, right? It's good to start having those financial conversations then. And I think parents across the board have different ideas of when they want to introduce their kids to devices or to social media. Yeah. And so I think from my perspective, it's if you're introducing a kid to a new device or something new, you need to really start having those conversations. I think across the board is different. Some introduce devices 8 or 9, some social media 13, 14, it depends. But I think the key takeaway for me personally is before you give them access to something, make sure they understand what they're getting into.
Yeah, I would say throughout this series, we've been talking about how the landscape has changed through so many different lenses. But something that remains consistent here is, you know, we talk about stranger danger with kids all the time, have generation after generation, right? It's just changing the dynamic of that conversation to make it fit the world we're living in today. And as Emily's saying, as they're growing up and they do have access to devices, so it's not just online games and it's not just 4 and 5 and 9-year-old kids that we're concerned about. We've got kids who are receiving text messages with job offers, right, that seem super legitimate. And we're seeing on our fraud department side, right, we've got a whole team of superheroes at Apple that are working to protect our account holders, things where kids who really are interested in making money are getting scammed with job offers. And so just staying current and keeping that conversation alive, I think is really important.
Yeah, Emily, run down the list of the types of scams that are out there. The job offer scam that Katie just mentioned is one. There are many others. What are they?
Yeah, there are a lot. It's hard to keep track of them as a parent that's trying to sort of learn those to make sure my kid is up to speed. One of the ones I've seen, and you know, Katie alluded to, is investment scams. Like, I was shocked to learn how many teens are being targeted with investment scams. Think of cryptocurrency scams, right? It's high risk, but it's high profit. And when you have a generation that is really interested in being financially responsible, being financially secure, they haven't quite developed the ability to understand what's accurate and what's not. They tend to fall for that. And so we're seeing a lot of cryptocurrency scams. Again, in-game app purchases are a big one, so it's across the board. I think also we haven't really talked about a lot, but like financial sextortion. So that's a really interesting thing that we're seeing a big rise in, where primarily teenage boys are engaging in relationships online. They're being asked to turn on their camera, someone takes photographs of them, and then approaches them later saying, if you don't pay us money, then we're going to share these photographs with your friends and family. It's a huge issue.
Which could be really scary, especially if you haven't built that relationship with your child to feel safe and comfortable to tell you about something that's going on in their lives.
Yeah.
But just to underscore what you just said, I mean, can you really draw a direct line from a simple financial scam to something as awful as sextortion?
Absolutely. Absolutely you can, because in my experience in the FBI, there are one or two reasons that cyber criminals do what they do. One of the primary ones that is consistent is financial gain. That's just one of the major reasons they do what they do.
Katie, as you said, it might not even be a scam you're on the lookout for. It could just be kind of a shady recurring transaction, right?
Absolutely right. And that's one of the things that makes it difficult on our end if our account holders aren't being vigilant. These are moments where we really have to be aware of what's going on, because it's our own money and we're the ones giving it away. And if you're not aware of the ways that people are scamming, it could be dangerous.
All right, so ideally, it would never happen. You would be on guard, bad people wouldn't be out there, but say your kid does get scammed in some way, what do you do then?
I think this is where the FBI fits into this picture really well. I think the first thing you have to do is, tell the child it's not your fault. Like, be there for them, support them. This happens to a lot of people. Step number one is that. I think step two is gather as many details as possible about what happened. Who were they communicating with? Did they share financial information? Did they share their PII? Can you take screenshots on the phone of what happened? Take that information and share with law enforcement. Whether it's your local police or the FBI, share that information so that we can pull that information together and use that to advance our efforts to identify who might have convinced your child to do this. And last but certainly not least is call the bank. Call the financial institution.
Thank you. Yes, please.
They have so many capabilities, and I know Katie will talk to us about that.
I think the additional thing when you're notifying your financial institution is we're going to see trends. So maybe what's happened to you or your kid doesn't feel that financially serious. Maybe it's not on that end of the spectrum. But it's still important for us to know, because if we're seeing a rise in a certain type of fraud, especially in our area, we're going to be able to communicate that with the local authorities in order to help identify what's going on.
Have you found that people are kind of too ashamed to report these kinds of things? Is that a problem?
I certainly think it is a problem. And what I would say to that is don't be ashamed. There are a lot of people that are in the same situation as you are. And if you don't report it, we're not as able to address the situation if you don't report it. So come forward.
How do you catch the bad guys when you're talking about maybe international syndicates or bots or whatever the heck they use? It seems like it's just a very challenging thing.
It certainly is a challenge for the FBI. I would say that we have a lot of capabilities, and it is the goal of mine every day when I wake up, and I talk to my daughter about this, is solving problems, solving hard challenges. And part of that is putting together the breadcrumbs of something that happened so that you can draw a line to who was behind it. And the FBI, we've been doing this for a very long time, and we have a lot of capabilities to do that.
What kind of capabilities do financial institutions have?
It's interesting. I talked to the head of our fraud department before coming here today, and I asked him the same question because it's not my normal, typical day-to-day world. And he said basically the same thing Emily just did, which was to say that we do have a lot of capabilities. We don't want to spell them all out on air for everybody to hear. So I would say just that we've got experience, technology, and problem-solving skills for sure.
Our focus has been on protecting kids, but obviously scammers will try to take advantage of anyone. Do you think that we need to be just as on guard with our partners and maybe even our parents especially?
Oh, absolutely. Historically, every year, fraud is on the rise. I don't know that we've seen a year where it's declined, which means that people are still falling for the same scams, the same enticements. And so absolutely, whether it's me as a parent or my parents, we have to share the word to people that the red flags are all the same for everybody, and you just got to stay vigilant.
Katie, what do you think?
Yeah, I would say see something, say something. Yeah. We've got folks, there's a lot of resources out there that we've talked about, and even talking to a friend, a trusted colleague, or going to your local financial institution. I know that our people are resources for this as well, because they're seeing this happen from time to time to our own account holders, and being able to interject before that sense of urgency takes over and we've sent money out of an account that we really didn't want to at the end of the day.
Emily, earlier on you mentioned AI as a tool that scammers are using. How do they use AI? What's the application to fool you?
It's fairly easy, and so I'll start by encouraging parents to use AI to Google what the latest scams are. Find an AI engine that you can type in, what are the scams that are targeting my teens right now? But they do the same thing. They can go into this AI application and say, how do I craft a message that a teen will be more likely to accept or respond to? And it's pretty interesting to see how good AI has gotten into helping them craft their messages.
So we don't get like the broken English or the misplaced punctuation that used to be a telltale sign of
It is not the same, and we're seeing AI being used to target people and to craft these specific messages that are very specific.
You mentioned that this can get into a more serious area like sextortion. Are there other interlinked areas of crime that go hand in hand with cybercrime that we would, really need to perk up and pay attention to cybercrime because it affects all these other different areas?
I think cybercrime affects everything, right? Like in every facet of what I do in the FBI, there's a cyber angle to it at some point, whether it's counterterrorism or drugs. There are people going online to buy narcotics. Like learning more about cyber and how that influences things is really important, but cyber connects everybody now. It's just the nature of the digital world. And so the more we can be smart on it, the better we are protecting ourselves and our kids.
I mean, not to put it too simply, but these are bad people, it sounds like. Some really bad people. It's not just an innocent prank or something like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's bad people that are looking to steal your money.
Yeah. Katie, do you have any key takeaways for us?
Yeah, I think there are three main key takeaways that our listeners and viewers can probably pick up. And one is check your account activity daily. I definitely do mine, and set alerts within your app if you can. We've got a space in the Apple app where you can set alerts for transactions, reoccurring transactions. You want to report suspicious activity?
Thank you.
Right?
Appreciate
Yes,
that.
you're
Yes.
welcome. I got you. And be on the alert and look out for what's up and coming. So at Apple, we've got a fraud prevention center you can use as a resource. Emily mentioned some AI tools you can use as well. But knowing what the next scam is helpful for yourself. It's also helpful for your kids.
Anything you'd like to emphasize, Emily?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say one of the big things I'd like to emphasize is even if it seems like it's not that big a deal, be careful. An example would be there are a lot of things being put online asking kids to fill out surveys or to respond to quizzes. That information can be used to then guess your password or be used to answer security questions on your account. So a big key takeaway for me is even if it doesn't feel like it's out of the ordinary or suspicious, be vigilant. Continue to tell our kids to be vigilant about providing their personal information to anyone that shouldn't have it.
All right, well, thank you both. I would like to thank today's guests, Katie Knight, the Community Engagement Officer at Apple FCU, and Emily Odom, an Assistant Special Agent in charge of the Cyber Division for the FBI. I'm John Aaron. You've been watching the discussion, Raising Financially Responsible Kids, Protecting Kids Against Financial and Online Scams. For more on this discussion, visit WTOP.com and search Apple FCU.